A common occurrence whenever I do a stream, especially when it's something relating to this topic, is that I'll walk away from it without being entirely satisfied with what I put out. Um, and that has a lot to do with sometimes I think a title might not make sense. Sometimes I think the way I go about it needs to gradually get there. And in some instances, there are things I cannot disclose by virtue of it being information that is more pertaining to someone else I know than myself. But I think I've said before, whenever you go around and you talk to a group of people that continuously treat you in the same manner, no matter what you do, there's a frustration with that, and there's obviously even more disillusion when you go online and you watch this. Because see, I've been following this Vic Mignogna saga for a little while, and one of the things I wanted to highlight is the fact that you've had one of his accusers, the voice actor Jamie Marchi, accuse him without any evidence. And whatever, we can get into who you believe in that at some other point. But a lot of the statements she's made have attracted distaste and disgust toward her for their, I guess you could say, candidness, where she talks about wanting Vic's head and balls and telling one of his supporters to get his penis out of their ears. Just statements that a good chunk of people find disgusting or otherwise off-putting. And one of the people involved with this entire thing had actually, said something to the effect of, on this one website, she's someone who's going through something, so how can you expect her to react? Basically defending this otherwise would be considered disgusting rhetoric by virtue of what they believe she has experienced. The situation matches the person's reaction. Basically, it's not something they would normally do. They don't believe. I said, look, that's a fine, whatever. That's a position I don't agree with, but it is what it is. And I said it because oftentimes when I come on here, for as frustrated as I feel with a topic, I still attempt to not entirely go off the rails. I don't swear in any of these except for damn or crap or some other word that is not considered as profane as others, and that's because I recognize the kind of people I'm dealing with as it relates to social media. We have a lot of individuals who they see a video with yourself in it and they become convinced they have a window into your soul and they know who you are. That's why I still can never get over all of the comments that were made over my appearance, because I don't consider myself unattractive. But also, it really solidified this idea that people will take anything they can to try and excuse something that makes no sense. And what I mean by that, well, generally, whenever I do something in the relationship category, it gets an overwhelmingly positive response from males because they have the same problems with women. And you can kind of infer when thousands of people like or watch something, or hundreds, they don't all look the same, they don't all talk the same. And when I watch that reaction or that position still be forwarded to me by people in real life and also online, it is disgusting, because for whether you like this stuff or not, attempt to point logic or fact around in my position. So it is a fact that we as individuals are all going to die. Let me say a little envoy, and we all have a hourglass with time in it that we do not have the exact estimation for, unless we plan to kill ourselves, which even then something might happen beforehand. And because I am continuously and regularly aware of this fact that I do not have some never-ending lifespan that's going to, make me able to waste time doing things that have proven themselves to not work over and over again, I generally like to make good use of my time, which is why I upload daily, which is why I actively try to speak about things I think are important, because I might not be able to next year or the year after that, or in any span of time that you might consider abrupt or soon. Because again, you have no clue of knowing this. So imagine my surprise, right? When I tried to tell this person, because I think I've been over this before, post high school, when I was actually more concerned, I would say probably until 11th, 10th grade, with trying to fit in with people. The main reason for wanting to even get in a relationship was to eventually have a family. And a lot of times when I've introduced this concept online, I've had people point to my age. I've had people point to, do you have any experience with this? And a lot of it is not really based around the way I've presented myself, because they don't know me, but it's because they're taking their own position of themselves and applying it to me as a means of disputing or otherwise attempting to make sense of what's going on instead of objectionably looking at it and actually hearing what I have to say. But look, I do not necessarily strike back people who think that someone is too young at whatever age to have a child. I've actually spoken about that a lot of times because I think that if someone's in high school and they're having a kid, it's dumb because they're trying to get some degree or otherwise graduate from there. But after that, if they're in a situation where they can afford it, why the hell not? But I generally don't speak on that part of my motive for wanting to talk to women anymore, or for talking to them post that period, because I know it's something that a lot of males can't seem to understand. Which is okay. Well, it's because people think, oh yeah, Marco. But like I was saying, when I had this situation arise earlier today, learning that this person was apparently possibly going to have something, it kind of pissed me off because this is not, a lot of times I give people the benefit of the doubt, even though I'm not given that online by detractors. But I gave them the benefit of the doubt and I said, you know what? Uh, let's review who they are, right? This is an individual who um, was able to spend thousands of dollars on clothes, to such an extent that when they were forced out of their own home, had to resort to putting their clothes in both other people's houses and storage units. This is an individual who actually has only ever, and I guess what I'm all of this is leading to me basically saying, I know who this person is. This is not a regular online interaction. This is me saying, I am aware of what they are, and what they are is not someone who is financially adept to take care of a child. But because they have a vagina, and we've already been over the ratio of how easy it is for a man to get a woman versus a woman to get a man. It's like 9 to 10 versus 1.5 to whatever. They're able to get away with not having a dollar in their pocket or actually planning to do this. And I said to myself, I'm oftentimes derided for my rhetoric, and that's the only thing you can ever get me for, because I don't, I have no record, I have no actual showing of just doing anything that is violent or otherwise. See, I remember comments that were something to the effect of, "This person is, they're lesser of a man because they talk about how they feel, because apparently you can only speak about how you feel if you have a vagina." I said to myself, you guys don't really get why I talk about this stuff and why I get pissed off. It's because I'm actively aware of how little time I have to do things. I remember I asked a person I speak with still some level of regularity, when do you think this is going to change? And they said, give it, they said 5, 10 to 15 years. And I said, well, look, how do you know I'm going to be alive in 5, 10, or 15 years? How do you know? Do you have a crystal ball? Can you look into the future and now tell me what exactly is going to happen? So they couldn't answer that. So I said to them, if you realize that I don't have the ability to look into the future and know when I'm going to die or how I'm going to be able to do something, why would you bother to tell me that? Why? They couldn't give an answer. Let me see. Talking about being labeled as weak, I think some people do talk about different way that does not help them though. Well, look, I really want to understand, what about the way I'm speaking is weak? I'm talking in, I think, an articulate manner with no profanity, no yelling and shouting, and I'm very upset by this development, because I have sat here for a much longer time than that person and thought about wanting to have a child. I've also sat here and try and danced in my mind with whether or not I wanted to introduce this concept as something that, for the most part, still bothers me about the woman's circumstance. Because, like I said, the only part of that that really is just barred to me forever is having an actual partner. You can have sex without getting a girlfriend ever. You can go to Nevada. So, the idea that 40-year-old virgin automatically, if you're not with someone, is not true. But my point is, when you watch yourself want to do something that is generally considered by society to be a good thing, having a child, being able to take care of it. And then the people who are going to make that decision for you, the women or whatever, the other part of the equation, consistently and repeatedly, not only, reject your proposal, but oftentimes the ones that do end up going through with it only go through with it because they're too stupid to put on a condom. That's the problem I have. That it really seems like you're this person who has to go out of your way or is told by the feminist society that we want people to be treated the same way, but then when you have a circumstance happen to you, you are treated in a completely different way. I'll give you an example. You as the man, right? You go out and you talk to 30, 60, 90, however many of these chicks per year, per whatever, however, whatever designated time you can think of. And in speaking to this group of people and getting tired of it, you might one day get upset. You might one day go on YouTube and say, "Hey, look, I tried to talk to these people. I interact with them a lot. I got nothing from it. I'm just kind of tired of this." And you'll have someone say you're entitled. So you understand where there's the duopoly of you just can't win, because if you do like I do, and you just don't talk to any of them anymore, you get told that this is the reason why it's happening. You get accused of being homosexual. And I said before, it's really a slap in the face to reality, because I think of people who are gay, I think of men or women holding hands, people of the same sex holding hands, kissing, not a person who's speaking about it. Especially not a person who wanted to get married. I don't know why I would want that if I was supposedly of a different sexuality. But again, they just have this thing. Yeah, VVS. I'm not. I usually don't call you out by name, but I don't think the priorities for the two of us are the same. I can accept not getting with a partner. I cannot accept the idea that because a group of people who have a vagina are designated as the selectors of what men are good and decent, that I should be barred from being able to reproduce. And I've tried to explain before, I do not actively talk about this stuff anymore because it bothers me. And it's something that I think if you let it overinflate your content, will regularly remind you of it, make your mind just go insane. I'm not saying that's what you do, but I'm saying that's what oftentimes is the case. You can have people who will watch this and still won't get the main point of what I'm saying is you have a society that's literally based around the woman gets whatever she wants at any time, and the guy has to sit there and just abide by it. That's why I was thinking about, critiquing the U.S. military, and I said, well, damn, they have you get drafted or sign up for the selective service. And if you get drafted, you come back here, you either die in one of our banana wars, or you come back here and have more than a fourth of a chance of being part of the homeless. And then, you gotta understand, you're coming back and being, if you're struck by that circumstance, you're not going to be lionized for your bravery and standing up for American soldiers, or have women now saying, "Oh, I want to get with you," or people not wanting to rob or do something to you. They just don't care. They will treat you like trash. They will treat you arguably worse than if you had just stayed here and been a draft dodger, which is what I advocate for, because I think that you cannot have a functioning society where one group is susceptible to a series of problematic circumstances and then tell them to just put up with it, not expect for them to go ham. Made it easier. Well, like I said before, Marco, my main thing at this point is probably just to adopt. And one of the biggest reasons for that is, even though I did want to reproduce, if I adopted, I could pick one at the age of whenever I thought I should have been able to get with someone. Because see, it makes no sense for a group of people to be able to pick who gets someone, right? This gender can pick everything. And then have members of the opposite sex, the sex that's getting screwed over, then come to someone like me who just says, "Hey, look, I think that things should be a little different." Go, "Oh, you're bitter. I have the solutions." No, society in general. In general, they treat men like crap, and then they get surprised when someone like me doesn't want to bother with them. I cannot tell you how many different days or weeks or people I've interacted with who have tried to denote my character. I'll give you an example. I would get in more trouble for putting up this person's picture, right, and calling them an idiot, than they would get in trouble for bringing a child into the world they can't take care of. That's how genocentric and insane this stuff has gotten. I mean, they just don't get it. Like I said, I can put up with not getting married. I can put up with not getting a partner. I cannot put up with not being able to reproduce. And also, let me tell you something else. Because I actually speak about other types of content, right? You know, you see the political stuff, whatever. That means I actually have things I want to do that are outside of women. And I actually am told oftentimes that, oh, if you just in this capitalist society, if you just get this, you'll be able to get what's. When I said, look, in any circumstance where I'm able to, I guess, supposedly get more successful than, I'll give you an example. Let's pretend I had 200,000 subs, 100,000, whatever, like larger number you can think of. And then suddenly, because of my supposed fame, I was now having people approach me. I'm going to think they're attention seekers who are using me so that they can grow, get bigger, and are trying to approach me with their sexual attraction, if you can even call it that, because I've seen some of the ones on here. And I'm going to think, hey, look, I'm glad I did this because I wanted to. But now the fact that you're just now coming around and realizing I was worth the damn is not doing you any favors. You're not going to get assistance from me because you hopped late on the bandwagon. They really don't get this. That anytime you tell someone to work on yourself and to do things that are more conducive to what you want to do, the ramification for me is always going to be that I will always remember when I was ignored and treated like crap by this group. Let's go down any scenario, right? Let's say I had a master's degree. Let's say I had some Ferrari or some car that visibly showed that I had some excess of dollars. And then suddenly women were attracted by that. All it's going to do is validate the point that these are gold diggers who have no actual interest in the men that are their contemporaries and just in what they have. Here's the thing: what these people don't get when they tell you all this stuff about working on yourself is that, again, we don't live forever, but we also have memories that stay with us. So, for example, if I'm sitting here, right, with this supposed better car or better whatever the hell, subscriber count, anything you can think of, I am always going to remember the period of me going to a mall, on the internet, a school, anywhere you can think of, talking to one of them, getting completely ignored, and then only now having them show interest after I have, by far, because, again, they don't understand how psychology works. See how and talented when you're doing extremely well. Yeah, but again, if I was doing extremely well, it's just going to make me want to rebel against that group even more. It's like with Brian, that guy I bring up oftentimes. There was a video where he's talking to this one person who's trying to convince him otherwise, and they're using the same old practices of, "Oh, I'm older than you, so I know better." And he says that if he could win, because the guy's like, "Oh, it's a capitalist society." He said, "I could win $150 million, and I'd probably hate that group of people even more because, oh, now I'm good enough for you." No, if I wasn't good enough for you when I was making minimum wage, I'm not good enough for you now. But again, tell me my perspective is wrong. I don't believe in using people. See, a smart gold digger, right? Someone that's actually brilliant, that is trying to piggyback off of other people, will say, okay, that person has a consistency with what they're doing. So let's pretend on YouTube, where I don't get any more subscribers, but this person knows me in real life, and they're saying, oh, that person is going to school, that person is actively saving up, even though they're not rich or they're not, actively flaunting it or showing it. I see who's trying to do this, and I can come up with them, and they would trick you into thinking, because they're approaching you at a time where you're not entirely there, but they're seeing what's going on, that they're interested. So that's a smart one. That's one of the ones that's actually brilliant, that has some brains in their heads. Oh wow, I was initiated 2 years ago. I think one of the things people don't get about, and this is kind of why I hate talking about this topic, I can already expect the dingbat comments. Oh my God, yada yada yada, blah 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 blah. And then they wonder why I close the comment section off, because I don't have patience for you. Every time I see these chicks now, and I see these different commentators who want to come to me and participate in the fool's run of trying to give me advice that I've already rejected by virtue of proving that it doesn't work, I see the equivalent of a large hourglass on my screen. I don't have the time to respond. I don't have the time to debate. You can watch, you can agree with it, you can like it and go, okay, fine. You can not like it, disappear, and then no one cares. I mean, I told him, if you guys are so much more brave than I am, go on your account, turn on your live stream and articulate to us why you believe that the U.S. having a 30-year low of a birth rate is not showing that women are overly selective and don't care about reproducing with anyone that actually plans this out, and will always, or at least for the most part, usually do it with people who don't have an interest in actively thinking about the future. Josiah, that person was practically homeless when that happened, or just a few years ago. They don't. Like, that's my point. That in knowing that this person has nothing other than a vagina, and that they're able to get something that I spent years talking to these different women across all spectrums of reality, whether it was online, whether it was in person. It's insane. No, legitimately, it makes no sense to me, and no one is going to type something in a comment section, like this, that's going to make me think, oh yeah, that's definitely what happened. Oh yeah, I get you. Yeah, yeah. The last 7 years, man, that was just the precursor to romantic success. No, it doesn't. It doesn't work. I mean, it's like what they sit here and they say to me, they say to themselves, I wonder why Justin doesn't believe me when I say that 7 years of him getting turned down is the precursor to him having success next year or the year after that. Because I'm not an idiot. I mean, Jesus Christ. They, they don't get it. And again, I still feel this stream has not adequately touched on the topic of me being pissed off that I wanted to reproduce because I actively think about this and pre-plan for it. And then someone who doesn't actively think about it at all gets to do it because, oh, look at me, I have a train tunnel, you can stick your little wiener in. That's really a thing that happened, that actually is going on. Oh my God, why are they so dumb? Like, oh, Jesus Christ. And you know what gets me? I've said it before, I don't consider myself to be intelligent. I think I'm someone that sits there and tries to put thought into what they do. So that's why, again, even as I'm speaking about this, I'm trying to go back to the overall position. I make a little satire here and there, but because it makes no sense. Like, I've sat here for so long and just thought about this stuff because all this stuff about feelings and, oh yeah, man, she'll be attractive. You just do that. That's all crap. Some people can get with someone that already has an attraction to the way they look, and some people won't. It's not that difficult to understand. And I'm sorry, but I refuse to believe I'm defective or I have a problem if I can do everything else in life with some level of success. Because you know why those things are done with success? They don't involve defective people who you only give credit to because they have a taco in between their legs. Call it what it is. Big Daddy government in check. Yeah, it really does feel like it's just this grand ball conspiracy of just, you talk to all these chicks, because you tell them up front, here's what I want, here's what I'll do, whatever, and then you get nothing, and then a chick says, oh, hello person, let me open my legs up to you. Oh, we're having bastard child. And no one calls this up. Like, I guess here's my thing, right? I've been shamed for multiple years at this point on social media, in real life, any sphere of the world, for not being able to get with someone. But no one ever shames people for being inept fools that choose to have children they can't take care of. That's a disgrace. You're destroying someone's life before you even have it. I mean, that should be an embarrassment. They should want to go to markets and airports and stores with paper bags over their heads at the shame of that. But it's only me. It's only the people who, like, think about this, how crazy this is, right? I can live for all these people know something. I'm not saying I do, but you could live in a good neighborhood. You can have some position that's actually worth the damn. You can be a college graduate. You can have no criminal record. You can not be involved in any drama of any kind. You can be a productive influence on the lives of your family members and peers. And you would still get told via the attraction signal of males and females that you are lesser than some broad that doesn't have a dollar in her pocket, but has some taco that some guy can stick his thing in. It doesn't make sense. Well, that's why I said the Twilight Zone, because when you like, they don't want to accept this. When you can get a job, when you can speak in a manner that is decent, when you can have long lasting friendships with people, interactions with people that are not related to you, that are related to you, when you are a positive influence on the lives of those around you, when you can actively keep yourself in a good condition financially and physically, that shows there's something wrong with the other group, not you. Like, why do you have dozens and dozens of guys who like this content? Because they know it's the Twilight Zone. Jesus Christ. I swear, it's like they just don't get it. I will still have more of them say to me, do you understand what it's like to be harassed sexually? They try to like now make you feel bad for the woman. Like, no, you're not going to make me feel bad for the woman when you guys as a collective society have tried to make me feel bad about myself for years. And it was because I stopped and pushed back against it that suddenly it's, you won't let up. You're also coming in the same manner. Yeah, they're always trying to find some defect in the guy. Like they verbally crucify the male, but then they let broads that have bastard children they can't take care of, or if they are married, they still can't take care of it. They let them get off scot free. I had a classmate at one of my high schools that had a child the year after we exited. And I remember I was looking at the pictures, right? This is someone I spoke with about maybe twice after we got out of school. They said that they were gonna wait until someone showed them how to drive. They said they were gonna postpone some other they struck me as the person who was kind of okay with just being wherever they were. Which was not good because the school we went to was not exactly what I would consider prestigious. But I do believe that there were students there who tried to make something of themselves. So imagine my surprise, right? When this person was not only the only student, one of the few students there that I saw consistently be able to appeal to the opposite sex by virtue of having a taco, of course, because they don't offer anything else other than a pretty face and whatever's in between their legs, and then pop out some kid that you can reasonably conclude, thanks to them being surrounded by fools, is going to have the exact same scenario happen again. But I'm the bad guy for saying, hey, this is a problem. We should change this. You should actually, before spitting something out, if you're going to spit it out the year after high school or, 2 years or three, whatever the hell, think about it in advance so that when it does happen, you actually know what you're doing. They don't do that. They just get in bed. They go, I'm going to have sex. And I end up getting, you know, verbally lynched by virtue of just saying, hey, look, I have a problem with this system. I don't think all women are the same, but I have a problem with what I feel is a good chunk of them that have treated males like myself, who, if you look at other aspects of our lives, you would not have a problem with being vilified, demonized, and turned into these horrible people over this one thing. Just they don't get it. No, you look. My point is that the rebuttals are from people who are going out of their way to not look at this objectionably or fairly. The comments that are to the contrary of people saying, "Hey, I've had this problem," are people who have experienced this, that because they've experienced it, it relates to them. But my problem is the fact that we have a systemic issue with the next group of people, generation, whatever you want to call it, where you have males who are good at anything but getting a date, like myself, and they get demonized and vilified over not being able to do that, while these broads that offer nothing other than a crusty vagina are able to get with whoever they want at any point or any time. And you're supposed to just sit there and not get pissed. You're not supposed to do a video where you articulate why you believe that this is insane. Or if you do a video on it, you're supposed to just, you know, be optimistic because it's eventually going to change for whatever the hell reason. So, like I said, I'm surrounded by fools. I'll adopt. I'll get one that, you know, is around whatever age I wanted to have a child at, and that child, I am 99% sure will be in a better living condition than any of the spawns that these people crank out. Because I believe in pre-planning. I believe in thinking of things methodically. It's part of the reason I actively put up content. It's part of the reason that I'm not in the circumstance that person's in. So, you know, go to hell. Thank you for watching. To the people who were in the chat room, we're fighting against the pricks. They're going to keep dragging us down, and we're just going to keep having to put up our own thing. I just wish it wasn't this way. I really wanted to not believe that most women my age were going to waste my time if I talked to them. I didn't want to believe that most of the commentators who didn't agree with me were going to play internet psychologist and try to figure out what's wrong with me by virtue of watching a video. But I had to accept that people, you know, they believe in fairness for one gender, not the other. It's a feminist society, and you ain't in it.